Hello, today we're going to talk about the functions of management. One of the most important things that an organization can do is have good management. You can have a great product, but if you have poor management, you could still fail. Managing effectively involves setting goals and objectives, solving problems, and finding the right people to do the work. There are five functions of management: planning, organizing, leading, controlling, and staffing. First, let's talk about planning. Um, planning is a management function that meets the needs and demands, that matches the needs and demands of a company with the goals and objectives. You also create strategies and you implement those strategies, and as well as monitor the progress. All of that is involved in planning. An example of this is budget planning. Um, Money is a resource. And so you look at your goals and objectives, and let's give an example of giving some educational classes for safe sleep programs. And you not only give those classes, but you buy cribs to provide to the mothers. And you are supposed to do that for 500 women. So you want to make sure that you budget for the staff and you have enough money to pay for the 500 cribs. The next function is organizing. Organizing is the next step in the planning phase. This is grouping tasks together, creating the authority and allocating those resources to meet those tasks. For example, you you have an organization which does several things with infants. You have part of the organization does screenings such as metabolic screenings and maybe hearing screenings for newborns. The other section it educates parents. So you may want to have both of those functions in the same area, but still separate. So you have a newborn screening area and a infant education area, but they all would both report to the Infant Health Bureau. Now, leading is a very important function. Leaders must have vision. They must have the ability to impart that information and vision to their employees, and they must be able to create the methods for getting those goals and objectives done and be able to impart that information to their employees. They also must have the ability to evaluate their employees as well as the performance of the program. They need to be trustworthy. They must manage conflict well and be good in a crisis, and also have ways to reward their employees. One example of this is creating incentives for your employees. Let's say there's a goal that you have to meet. In my department, it was seeing clients. We had 10 nurses and they were behind in meeting their goals for the amount of clients they were going to see in that particular month. Well, the manager established an incentive. The nurse who had the most home visits for the month would receive 8 hours of leave. And when that started, we not only met our goals, we exceeded them. Next example is controlling. Controlling is setting up standards and measuring the performance and comparing performance against those standards. And then doing corrective actions if those plans are not quite working, um, as well as trying to ensure the quality and success of the program or organization. An example of this is conducting monthly performance reports. You establish performance indicators such as, like I said, performing 60 home visits in a quarter. You establish that indicator and then you measure it. And if it's not working, you would make adjustments. The next function is staffing. Staffing involves recruiting for employees. But first, you have to establish what skills are needed for a particular function in the organization. And once you establish what skills are needed, you recruit, and what the applications are received, you can look at them to see who meets your criteria. Then you interview them to see if they're a good fit for the organization, and you hire them. Staffing also involves training employees and making sure that they are up to date with the latest information needed to perform their function. An example of this is we hire nurses. So when we put out our announcement that we need a nurse, we make sure that we include the responsibilities that that nurse will have while she's there, the education that we will need, the licensing, the years of experience. And once that we get the applications, we choose the nurses who have met that criteria, and we interview them to see if they're a good fit, and we place them. Now we're going to talk about management styles. There are three: directing, delegating, and discussing. The first is directing. The directing is one-way communication. They have strengths and weaknesses. The strength is that it's faster and works well for unskilled workers. The weakness is that the staff have no input, which can lead to low morale and low motivation. An example of an organization that would have this type of management style would be a fast food restaurant where the manager just tells the employees what to do. The next management style is delegating. That's two-way communication. The strength is that the employees get to show their skill. They learn new skills. Managers see the employee skill level. There's employee input, and it builds trust between the employee and the manager. The weakness is you can overwork the reliable employees. If the employee that you delegate to fails, then it can look bad on the manager. And if the employee that you give the assignment to does not know how to manage their priorities, it can also be a problem. And an example of delegating is you have a big report is due, and you break it down into two functions. Maybe you want one employee to do the organization's part and the forecast for the future part of the report, and then you would delegate the budget of the report to someone else, and then they would get that done and give it back to their manager. The third one is discussing. That's also two-way communication. In this way, in this style, employee feels valued. That's a strength. And another strength is employee is invested. A weakness is that it can take more time than just delegating, and conflict can occur, which will really take include, it can complicate matters. An example of this is working together as a team to get a goal accomplished and taking a lot of input from the employees. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to give this presentation, and here are my references. The end.